So, hello, Tanvi and Akshay. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll continue to come to my class. After the first 12 classes, this is the fourth class, and the 12th class would be your artwork that I will put up, and we'll discuss that, okay? So one other thing that you must have picked up from yesterday's lecture is that I am trying to put together artwork to publish, greeting cards that are blank. So it's like a every occasion greeting card. So would you guys be interested in sending me your artwork for that? Yeah. So make sure that you email it to me. Your moms have my email address, and you should be able to do that too. So take good pictures of your artwork and send it to me. Okay. And let me see if I can put it in. And it could be, it would be something that your artwork that you're very proud of. Okay. So send it. It could be done during these sessions or before, and that'll be fine. Okay. All right. Today we're going to discuss about Rembrandt. Um, so the Rembrandt was a Baroque style painter. Okay, and he was a painter in the Dutch Golden Age. Okay, during the Dutch Golden Age is because the Dutch people were doing fantastically at the time. The economy was up, and people were buying paintings, and it was just a very luxurious and good time at the time. So Rembrandt was not only a painter, he was also a printmaker and a draughtsman. So you see, there's a theme that's coming through all of these painters, right? They're not just good at one thing; they're good at many things, right? So, and he worked on this particular guy worked on a wide range of style and subject matter. What do you mean by style and subject matter? Uh, Style means you could do any style. Like for instance, you could do something abstract. You could do a portrait. You could do an oil painting. You could do. He was a printmaker, so he could do prints and so forth. Okay. He was born on July 15th in 1606, so nearly 400 years ago in the Netherlands, and he never went abroad. He always stayed in the Netherlands. Those days people used to just go from there to Paris. Paris seemed to be the hot spot for painters, but Rembrandt never went away from the Netherlands. Okay, and he died in Amsterdam at the age of 63. So he was younger than some of the painters we've been talking about when he died. Okay. So he studied at the University of Leiden. Okay. And his teachers were Swanenberg and Lassmann. Okay, these were two of his teachers. But he was so good at painting, you'll see from some of his paintings. He was so good that by age 22, he had his first student. Okay. And he just went on to teaching students and taking on students. But you will find out that this guy, Rembrandt, never really shared any much of his work. Okay. So what we know about his style is from his students, right? All right. So he did move to Amsterdam in 1631. This particular painting is called the Night Watch. It's in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. It was done in 1642. What do you think of this painting? You can unmute yourself since you're just the two of you. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself. What do you think of this painting? It's the fourth most popular painting in the world today. And it was, go ahead.
Is it about a gathering?
It is a gathering, yes, it is a gathering. And you see over here, what do you see in the background? It's pretty dark, isn't it? Right? It's dark. But then he lights up his main subjects. See how he's lit up his main subjects? These three people. This woman is carrying a chicken. it has symbolic meanings. And this guy is like carrying a rifle. But see, all the people are animated, very animated people, composition. And the scene behind is very dark. Okay. This was a rather large painting, 11 feet by 14 feet. So 11 feet by 14 feet. Okay. So people don't know yet where it was painted. Was it painted in Rembrandt's home? His home was too small to have, there were no big rooms where he could paint a canvas this large. Was it painted on site where it's hanging today? Don't know. Did he paint somewhere else, like in a church or something? Nobody knows. So it's like a secret. It's nobody knows. People still speculate about it. It took 3 years to complete this painting. Okay, it's a phenomenal piece. And you know how many he received? 1,600 guilders uh, by 17 militiamen. So all these were militiamen, most of them. Okay, and this guy, Captain Coquet, he commissioned this painting, but he was not the only person who paid for it. Or most of these military men paid for it. Okay, so one thing that is important about this particular painting is that in 1975, there was an unemployed school teacher. He came and slashed this painting. Can you imagine? Because it's on canvas, right? He came and just slashed it. So they had to what do you call it, refurbish it. And it was damaged and so forth. And then in 1990, apparently a psychiatric patient came and put acid on the painting. How sad is that, right? But they all, they all in they refurbished it. And there were in 528 photos taken in 2020 to study every part of the painting, in detail. How is it that he does it? You will see how there's a little bit of green in the background. Nobody knows what exactly he did, but did he paint the background green? Because, even in his portrait, sometimes the green shows up. We don't know. So I finally went ahead and bought a book on Rembrandt, but a lot of people do not know how he painted. And he was just a phenomenal painter. I recently went to New York and saw a bunch of Rembrandt paintings, and each of them are fantastic. Okay. This is a very nice painting. It's a story from the Bible. It's called Storm on the Sea of Galilee. And it was done in 1633. And it was stolen from Boston. And to this date, they haven't recovered this painting. So it's in somebody's basement or cellar. And they're not telling who it is, because then it was in Boston at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Isn't that unbelievable that somebody would steal this painting and they disguise themselves as policemen and came in and rolled the piece out, put it in something and walked from the back door, apparently. So this painting is stolen. Again, what do you see over here? You see some dark regions and then the light. See how beautifully he depicts the light, and he uses a very small color palette. He doesn't use a ton of colors, right? Very small color palette, and he uses yellow really gorgeously. See how it's lit up this pan, right? Okay, let's move on. And like I told you yesterday, that in the olden days, like nowadays, we take a lot of selfies, and in the olden days, the way they took their selfies was they made their self portraits. So this man, Rembrandt, this is a self portrait with two circles. See, there are two circles on the back, right? And it was done in 1665 to 69. Okay. And it is one of his 40 self portraits. There were 40 of these self portraits of him. And you can see if you put all 40 together, maybe that'll be a class sometime. I'll try to get all 40 portrait pictures and see how he has aged through the years. Okay, so that's Rembrandt, and I'm quite intrigued by obsession of portraying themselves. Here's another beautiful piece. Again, see how the light is just sort of like emanating from this table and then lighting up the faces of these people. It's called the Conspiracy of Claudius. It's in the National Museum in Sweden. This painting, the thing about this painting was it was in a semi-lunar shape. Semi-lunar means half moon, right? It was in a half moon shape. It was 5 meters by 5 meters long. So 5 meters by 5 meters. And then they had to cut it up so they can frame this painting. So there's a lot of the painting that was lost. So that's how, so that it could be sold. They had to actually cut it up so it could be sold. Here's another very famous painting of just regular people. So what did these people do? These people, they're called the sampling officials. So, in Amsterdam, it's present in the Rijksmuseum. So what it is that these guys are called the drapers. The drapers are people who used to examine cloth. See how they're examining the cloth? So they would examine cloth, and then they belong to a society, like a guild, a collection of people who are making cloth. And these guys, these drapers, would come and look at the quality of the cloth, and they were sort of like the quality control people. And so Rembrandt went ahead and painted this. Okay, and this painting is used on the packaging of Dutch Master cigars. Okay, very nice painting. So you can see that he is painting a lot of different things, like he's painting Bible scenes, he's painting portraits, he's painting ordinary people as well. Okay, here he's painting a Bible scene again. It's the return of the prodigal son, and he loved this story of the prodigal son. Do you know the story of the prodigal son? No? So what I'll tell you in a very short way, what it was that there was a very rich man. And then he had these sons, okay? So what he did was he gave a lot of money to his different sons. And one son went ahead and, made it 10 times 10, and came back and he said, look, Dad, I took all your money and made it much more. The other son saved it, came back and he said, okay, look, I did this. But this son was, really bad in the sense that he went and he spent all his money and he became really poor, really hungry. And then finally, when he came, the father, instead of scolding him and saying, what did you do, son? You're good for nothing. He went ahead and embraced him because he said that this is a son that I lost, but he has come back. So that's the return of the prodigal son. And he loved this story from the Bible, and he incorporated this painting in many of his works. Okay, that's the return of the prodigal son. And here is a man with a golden helmet. It's amazing, right? It looks so real, the portrait. And yeah, they think it is Rembrandt's, but some people think that this portrait may not be Rembrandt's. Okay, here's another portrait of Rembrandt, the self-portrait with beret and turned-up collar, and it's in the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. Do you guys ever go see museums ever? Tanvi, have you been to the Dayton Art Museum? Maybe I'll take you guys one time to the Dayton Art Museum. They have some good works too. Okay, maybe that'll be a field trip one day. Okay, it's fun. It's really fun. Not kidding. My kids used to be taken to all kinds of museums and galleries. It's a lot of fun. Once you start learning about painting and you do a little bit of painting on your own, you'll really enjoy going to a museum. Okay. So this happens to be a portrait that one of my teachers here in Dayton, I take some painting lessons from her. She happens to have this on her, her logo, this particular painting. And this painting is very well known for its brushwork. The expression on his face is very, very realistic. And this is present in the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. This one is Belshazzar's Feast. It's in the National Gallery of London. Here again, he's using light and dark, you know, portraying the faces, and he lights up the faces with the use of color. This was Rembrandt's classic like touch. This is what he did. He was absolutely good at it. Okay. The exact date of this painting is unknown, but how he does handle paints in this is really interesting. Okay, what do you think of this painting, Akshaya? Looks very, it looks like, he's costumed. This person is so costumed, right?
I think it's kind of a good representation of how they kind of were back then.
Yeah, exactly. How do we know about all the people who dressed, and what did they wear those days? 400 years ago. That's really nice. Yeah. Here's another one. Old Man with a Gold Chain. So one of the things Rembrandt used to, how all of us have some kinds of quirkiness, like some of us collect stamps, some of us collect jewelry and so forth. Rembrandt used to love collecting costumes. He just loved it. So he would get all these elaborate costumes, and then he would put it up on different people and then paint them. So one of his closest uh, relatives, which is his father, used to be his model. I don't think this is his father, but his father would model for him and wear all these costumes, and then Rembrandt would paint them. Those days, people used to sit for hours and just posing for an artist. These days also they do, but you pay those models to pose for you, okay, in painting schools and so forth. All right, let's go to the next painting. Oh, here's this painting is called the Anatomy Lesson. So what's happening over here? So in case you go and study medicine, you have to dissect a human being sometimes. When you're in college, you dissect a pig or whatever. But if you want to study medicine, you want to know what are the parts of a human body, right? So here, this is called the anatomy lesson. So here's a doctor or a teacher, and he's teaching his medical students. Look at how elaborate their costume was, right? Now, these days, you're not allowed anywhere near an anatomy lab. In fact, really good colleges will not even show the anatomy lab to you. But those days, about 400 years ago, it was like a social experiment. So the whole general public were invited. They could stand up in the terraces and watch the man being dissected. This is a dead person, you know, but it was like a big deal. So imagine that 400 years ago, when a professor of anatomy was teaching anatomy, not only to the medical students, paid people would pay money to come and watch this happening. Okay, so that's interesting tidbit from those years. And here in this painting, this is called the Jewish bride. Could be the father of the bride, don't know. And he's just kind of comforting the bride in the red dress. I didn't know that brides wore red dresses anyway. And but it is so beautifully done. Just look at, like, I mean, if you can just in your spare time go and look it up, like, you'll find that these are all frills, the gold. Look at all this. It looks so rich. Again, what do you see in this painting? There's dark regions and light regions, right? So he's focusing all his light on just the main characters of the painting. This is just incredible, which is something I don't know how to do. When I painted a portrait of my daughter, I painted her and there was light everywhere and her face was all lit up. But I think what he's trying to say is that he's trying to create a mood for the painting, and that's just absolutely wonderful. And one of the nice stories about this painting is that Vincent van Gogh, you are going to learn about him later. Vincent van Gogh, he was reduced to tears, and he said, I can just eat bread if I could just stand and look at this painting for 2 weeks. Just give me the opportunity to sit and look at this painting for 2 weeks, and I will just survive on bread alone. You know, he was just so enamored by the exceptional workmanship of this painter called Rembrandt. Okay. And here's another one, very unbelievable. Again, there's a lot of mannerism in this. So this is the descent from the cross. You know how Jesus was crucified, and the crucifixion has been painted in many, many ways, shapes, and forms. And here he's being taken down. On the third day, he's being taken down from the cross. And see, everybody, like some people are fainting. I think that's Mary fainting, and people are trying to take it. Everybody's sad, and there are, it's hard to take a man down from a cross, right? There's a ladder, and this is Rembrandt's, uh, painting. So it's there in the Hermitage Museum in Russia. So during World War II, what happened was there was a lot of bombings that were happening. So even the Hermitage Museum, they thought that, oh my gosh, we don't want to lose these paintings. So what did they do? They went ahead and rolled it out, took it out of the frame, rolled it out, put them in cellars, and took it out only after the World War was done. Okay? Any questions? No? Okay. All right, let's move on. Here's another famous painting of Rembrandt again. This is Aristotle contemplating a bust of Homer. So this is Homer and this is Aristotle. And it's you can see this at the Met in New York City. It was painted in 1653. This painting over here is it's interesting. I just love his paintings. There's no way. If you look at one of my paintings, at heisenpolart.com, I don't use any of these techniques, but I think I should learn to. So, see here again, he has kept one side completely dark and the other is lit up, right? It's the abduction of Europa, and it's in the Getty Museum in California. So it's a rare mythological subject, but then, it's painted in a very Baroque style. Here's a still life with peacocks. It's in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. Okay, so let's look at the Rembrandt quotes. I love this part of my class. It's always fun to talk about what these artists thought about life and what they said. One of his quotes is, practice what you know, and it will help clear what you now do not know. Isn't that unbelievable? Like, practice what you know, and so then you'll know what you don't know. So it's the same thing. Like when you go to school and you practice a certain math problem or a science problem or a literature grammar problem, you're going to practice it so that you'll then learn, okay, these are the things I don't know. So keep practicing is a good statement. It was applicable even 400 years ago. And then painting is the grandchild of nature. Rembrandt loved the nature. And one of his other statements is, choose only one master, nature. If you look outside, isn't it perfect how every spring the leaves come up, the flowers come, summer, everything is blooming. Then fall, everything falls down, and in the winter, everything is bleak, right? So nature is like incomparable. So he considers nature the only master. Okay. And then look at all his paintings, right? Over here. So he quotes very easily that without atmosphere, a painting is nothing. So he's creating atmospheres. Again, see the dark region, the light region. He's just painted peacocks, you know, and over here, he's painting a mythological scene, light and dark. So he's creating atmosphere. So when you do a painting, remember that, okay? And then he says a painting is finished when the artist says it's finished. So the artist should say, okay, my painting is done, and that's fine. Okay, so you keep working on your painting. Some of these paintings have been painted on for years, right? 3 years, 4 years, 12 years, you know. So when the artist says, and some painters, they would never finish their paintings. It was that funny. An honest man always values earning honor over wealth. So honor is a very important thing. Okay. Old age is a hindrance to creativity, but cannot crush my youthful spirit. It's like me, I'm old, but I am as young at heart as can be. So Rembrandt was like that too. He says, well, you may think I'm old, but I have a very youthful spirit. Okay, that's a good way to live, I think. So some of the terminology that I want you to take away from this class is an Italian word, chiaroscuro. What is chiaroscuro? It's the technique of using light and dark. Impasto means paint laid on a canvas so that it stands out and the brush strokes and palette knife strokes are visible. So it's laid on the canvas very thickly, okay? Thin glazes are applied over impasto to achieve light effects. So you can take a glaze and apply very thinly as a layer, and then it gives you, you know, some light effects if you apply a thin glaze. Then the other one is sprezzatura, which means apparent carelessness. And that you can see in this particular painting of his. Let me show you right here. Expressive brush strokes, somewhere it's careless, like over here too. Let me see another painting of his over here. Somewhere he just scratches the canvas. That's called sprezzatura, which means apparent carelessness. Okay, so these are 4 words: chiaroscuro, impasto, thin glaze, and sprezzatura. Okay, now let's look at the color palette he used. So if you look at, do you have a paint set at home, both of you? Do you have paint sets? What kind of paints? Watercolor or acrylic or what?
Watercolor.
Watercolor. Okay, so I want you to use only these colors if you have. Yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, white, black, and cadmium red deep. Okay, only use these colors and try to create a painting. Okay, and see what you come up with. Remember that you can always mix different colors, because even with a limited color palette, you can create other colors. Okay, so experiment in mixing those colors. So what was his technique? He used a limited color palette, dark tones and golden highlights. He used yellow a lot. He emphasized face, hands, and costume, with the setting fading into the dark background. His exact technique is unknown, like I told you. And he used chiaroscuro, impasto, glaze, and sprezzatura with brilliance and made it look so easy. Okay. Of course, you can't, do impasto with watercolor, but you can certainly do it with acrylics and oil paints. Okay. Because what it is you'll have to create some type of an impasto. So you could do impasto, create like an impasto using some type of a medium, let it dry, and then paint watercolor over it. But it's mostly done with oils and acrylics. Okay. Do you have acrylic set by any chance? Acrylic paint set at home? Yeah. Okay. All right. Very soon we will start working with acrylic paints, and I'll show you some techniques. I'll try to videotape them. Okay. Now, I want you to, these are the self-portraits. Rembrandt's self-portraits, I want you to go and watch this YouTube. So what he has done is, it's very interesting. He's taken Rembrandt's, I told you he has done 40 portraits. So he's combined all of them and he's put a time lapse. And then you can see how young Rembrandt became old in a few minutes, I think. Okay, so check that video out if you can. It'll be fun to see. You could make a self-portrait. Would you want to try to make a self-portrait? Yeah, let's try that. Okay, make in different light situations. So what you can do is, we can cheat a little here. What you can do is take a little picture of yourself in different light situations. So put light on your face, put light behind you, put onto the side, take a side face and take these photo references and sit in front of the mirror and paint yourself. That's what these people in the olden days, they never photographed themselves. They just sat in front of the mirror and painted themselves. Okay, so try that. You could do a landscape of your choice, but then again, incorporate Rembrandt's use of dark and light, or the chiaroscuro technique, okay? And you could paint a still life of your choice. A still life, what is a still life? Tell me. Tanvi, you want to say tell me what a still life is? Akshaya, any idea what a still life might be?
Just a normal painting of an object.
Exactly. So of an object, so like for instance, if there is a little bottle, a phone, and maybe nail polish set, you will arrange it like so. See, like that, and make a still life of it. But always arrange it in groups of 3, 5, or 7. Okay, not even numbers. So that's like a design trick I want you to know. Okay, when you're doing an arrangement, so a still life could be a flower arrangement. So when you're putting flowers together, put like 3 flowers, okay, or 5 flowers, or 7 flowers together, and then put other things. That's a still life. So you can create a still life using flowers. You can create a still life using fruits, different types of fruits, different colors of fruits, okay, things like that. So that's a still life. And I have to always tell you, the painting in the background is mine. It's called Rhapsody in Gray, and you can see it on my website. Okay, it's actually an exhibition right now, right there. Okay, any questions? Very soon we are going to start painting in class, okay? But not with these. So would you, I will send you an email after this class is done, and then we will figure out what we are going to paint in the next class, okay? Any questions?
When's the next class?
Okay, today we have 2 classes, and today is the last day of 2 classes, okay? So there's another class at 2 p.m. and I would like for you to attend because you attended yesterday's class. And yesterday, today we're going to talk about Joan Miro. He's another surrealist painter, and you'll love his class too. So today, maybe we will attempt at 2 o'clock, we'll attempt to do a painting, a surrealist painting. Yesterday was very difficult. We were thinking about painting our dreams. I can't teach you to paint a dream, but I can teach you a little bit about Miro's technique, just a little, and we'll attempt to do a painting today. Okay, so bring out your watercolors out, a paper out, and let's try to do a painting this afternoon. Okay? And then later on, I think tomorrow we have a class, and then it is 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, I think. And then 4, 5, and 6. And then the 12 classes are done. Okay? So please come to all of them because you're out of school. Deal? Okay, I'll see you at 2.